Thanks so much for joining me today. We are going to dive into the conversation in a moment. First, I wanted to remind you that the show notes and links mentioned on this podcast are on my website at lizacivicmarketing.com. That's Liza with a Z and Civic with an S. So, okay, let's get started.
Hey, magicians, it's Liza. Thanks for being back with me. I have got Simon Kozlowski here today, and I'm really excited to talk to him. He's a rock star copywriter, which is great because that's actually what he calls his method. That's, so incredibly coincidental, Simon. And I'm really glad he's joining me from South Africa today because I loved having a chat with him about this. I loved his idea of the sales template, and we're going to talk a lot about what he's come up with here and how he can use that to market himself, how he can help you market yourself. Always good to get fresh eyes on your copy, even if you've been doing it a long time. And if you don't know what you're doing, this is a great way to start. So Simon, welcome.
Hey, Liza, it's really awesome to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, how are you doing today? Are we pumped up for this?
Fired up on all cylinders, just revved and ready.
That's good. That makes one of us, but I'm getting there. No, I'm good. I'm really excited to talk to you. So your company is called Marketing That Rocks, correct?
That is correct.
I mean, that tells you everything you want to know. Who doesn't want to rock, right? So even dorky people like me want to rock. So we're going to talk a little bit about, what's that?
Everybody wants to rock.
Everybody wants to rock. Yeah. I think we should all do a little of that every morning. Just get up, start jumping around, the little, headbanging music, or, not whatever kind of music you want to do, right? So Rockstar is a great way to think of marketing, because you want to have all cylinders going. You want to have a really good outlook on your copy and not just get into the boring, but you still have to have some structure. And I think that you've done a good job with that. So tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got where you are, what you're doing now.
Awesome. Thank you. So I have a history of, I'm 42, turning 43 in August, just to put a pin in where I am in my life. And prior to the turn of the decade, 2020, I had 20 jobs or 22 jobs, maybe 23 jobs over 20 years. And I've done everything from yacht skippering to fixing blood machines to working for a global advertising agency and a whole bunch of selling of all kinds of stuff, from industrial cleaning chemicals to stock trading software and dinnerware and cookware. So I've really traversed almost the full spectrum of what's out there. But I'm a reluctant marketer. I swan dived out of the second story window of corporate employment in about 2010. And I've just been, I thought I was going to fly. I scraped my chin on the tarmac of reality, and and I've been leopard crawling.
I love that.
Yeah, I've been leopard crawling ever since, just dragging myself along the concrete ever since. But I had a passion for small businesses and helping small businesses out. And really the culmination of the last 10 to 12 years of my career, my many careers, has really been this understanding of marketing needs value and value needs marketing. So if you don't have value, there's nothing to market. And if you don't have marketing, you're not going to get to share your value. And so I've been bumping between those two when I had a big light bulb moment a couple of years ago where I just went, oh, what if I actually combined the two and worked them together in synergy and harmony? And things have gotten a little bit better since then.
When you're not trying to fight it, right? I love Tarmac Reality because my father is a retired commercial airline pilot, and I'm going to tell him that, and he's going to laugh because he knows that I spent my first 20 years of my career not really dealing with reality. So he's going to think that's great. I did a lot of the same kind of jumping around and learning a lot of industries, and I think that gives you a very wide and open perspective, a really good view once you kind of settle where you want to be, because when you've touched a lot of different industries and you've seen a lot of systems, it makes you more open to thinking about new ways to do things. I've pulled a lot of things from one industry into another and that they hadn't considered before, because it gives you that perspective. So you've probably come from a really great spot, except for that, swan dive into the tarmac. That was your moment, huh?
that was my reality awakening.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about how you would guide somebody with your, the rapid fire rockstar sales page template. What makes your copywriting different? What's cool about it that's going to make us say, yeah, we got to try this?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a setup, because anybody who says my stuff is cool is probably not cool. So I'll pretend you called it cool and I just nodded and smiled and leaned into the question.
It is cool, though. It is. I say cool a lot, but it is cool. That wasn't just a setup. Maybe I'm not on my game today, guys. I don't know. He's catching me out. No, the cool is good. Cool is good. I like cool. And I think this is a really cool structure because, again, it gives you fresh eyes. So tell me a little bit about how you came up with it and, why it's important to do it this way.
Awesome. So I don't have it up on my screen, so I'm going to quickly just pull it up while I talk to you. But bumping along, trying to figure this stuff out, moving between corporate, moving between corporate and small business, and then a bit of work with government and trying to figure out all the things that work and constantly pivoting. I mean, anybody who has lived life in the last, or has been in business for the last year or two, knows that pivoting is a thing. And we all got to do it all the time now to stay relevant. But what like I said earlier, I was a reluctant marketer. I was actually an innovation. And I love the fact that you mentioned bringing things from other industries, because really that is what innovation is all about. It's really just bringing two things together in a new way. And it's the essence of what I do at Marketing That Rocks and in my sales copy. But I had come up with this really cool, acronyms is my jam. So I'd come up with this reinvention roadmap. It had an invent model. It was taking the stuffy jargon of corporate innovation and all the really academic stuff and making it cool and appealing and attractive to normal humans outside of the corporate starchy world. And the problem was that nobody cared. I was trying to sell this stuff. Everybody was saying, oh, it's so good, but nobody was actually paying me for the value. And the way I was using metaphors, like we're going on this journey and this is a vehicle overhaul, and I had cool pictures on my website and all of the bells and whistles that we think are going to sell our value. And it was just crickets and tumbleweed. Crickets at the tills and tumbleweed in the bank account. And I just got really frustrated. So I started deep diving. I'd always had this interest in storytelling and branding, and I'd bought a lot of books and read a lot of books, but I was now committed to applying myself to understanding how this stuff all works, like in a practical way, without all the, like, how do you do this thing fast and furious, not go and do a 1-year program and then another 5-year implementation. I wanted to know, how do you do this thing fast and furious? And I think 3 years later, I surfaced for air and went, oh my gosh, there's just so much here. It's overwhelming. And so I was actually working at an advertising agency, a global advertising agency, and building this out on the side, writing some copy, figuring out the funnel stuff. And then COVID hit and I lost my job. And I was like, okay, it's time to figure out this thing. And so I bumped around for about 3 or 4 more months in my little inventors workshop. And I came up with, first, we started with the problem. I started with the problem. I was going, what are the biggest problems in marketing? Like, if we had to just sum it up, like what are all the biggest problems? And I figured out, especially in terms of communicating your message, there are 5 big problems. I'll get into those in a bit. But I then said, okay, if there was just one solution for each one of these problems, what would it be? Like in one word or phrase, what is the answer? And came up with the ROCKS ideology. So marketing that rocks is actually an acronym. Well, ROCKS is an acronym for our ideology, and it stands for resonance, which is really grabbing people by the heartstrings. Originality. The funny thing about marketing is that, especially today, everybody's using copy and paste templates.
Oh, yes.
But marketing is supposed to make you stand out. And it's like, that poster that says you were born to stand out, or that sort of catchy phrase thing. It's like now marketing is about you were born to sit down and blend in, because everybody's using the same damn stuff. And I call it karaoke copy. So that's one of the big
That's
problems.
Perfect. Yeah. Don't be karaoke, be a rock star. I like that. I love that.
Yeah.
It's true. There's so many people who've talked about this. There's so many people who are like, well, my competitor or this person that's bigger than me is doing this. So I want you to basically copy it word for word, but put our names in. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, we've talked about that. You're absolutely right. That's a major problem.
And it's not specific to copywriting. My son is 19 now, and he is becoming a photographer. He's going out there and doing the things. And he had an ad agency give him some Instagram pictures and asked him to reproduce those. And he would go, and he's creative. So he's going, no, let's do this, let's do that. And the client is looking at the pictures and going, no, the hand placement is wrong there. It needs to be, here's the picture, copy the picture, because
that's
that
a hard thing to ask a creative person to do, right? Go copy something.
But I mean, just from an integrity perspective, and the hilarious thing was, and I hope he never hears this episode, but the funny thing was that this agency pride themselves on originality, and yet they're doing that. And it's just because we're all trying to do what works.
Yeah.
And when you do what works, you just working what has been worked before, and that doesn't work anymore.
Great points. Yes. Yeah. I would like to say that my demographic is a bunch of 19-year-old photographers, but there's a good chance that just because his dad is on it, he won't listen to this. So we should be good.
Yeah.
My kids were 19 very recently ago, so I get it. Well, and good for him that he's going out there and doing a creative career and working with ad agencies. That's fantastic. I said that just in case he does listen. No, good for him.
So just picking up where I left off, the C in ROCKS is for continuity. And that is really when what often happens. So imagine your client is the rock star, the hero, but let's call him the rock star on the stage of their own life, and they're strutting around on the stage of their ambitions, belting out anthems of their own success. And suddenly the lights go out and the stadium goes dark. And in that moment, they're caught in this position where they're looking for someone to come and rescue them from that position. Okay. Like, this is a critical point. Now imagine the stage crew or a stagehand ran on to the stage and just took the opportunity to start yapping about themselves and saying how excited they are to be here, and just talking about themselves and how good they are. And hey, did you notice how I did X, Y, and Z in the dressing room? And the rock star's going, can somebody get this freak away? And can we please get the lights back on? I need to get back in my moment. And that's what we do as brands and as marketers, especially in the social media culture of self-promotion. I got to say how good I am, what my clients have achieved. And most of our clients, if we're really honest, our clients achieved stuff because they're them, not because they worked with us,
Right.
And so making the story all about us is neglecting the fact that they're on a journey, they're coming from somewhere We've met them at a point of the journey, and our job is to help them get from where they are to where they want to be. And that's the continuity aspect, so value ladders, understanding the pain that they're in, the desired gain they want to move towards, and what obstacles and internal enemies they're dealing with that are preventing them from moving forward. Our job is to kick the obstacles out the way, vanquish the enemies, and escort them to where they're going. And so I was getting really, really irritated with brands and marketing companies that do it on behalf of brands, because as marketers, we should be leading the way and setting the example and,
Agreed.
going, I'm the hero, I'm the hero, I'm the hero, look at me. It's just so 1982, it's ridiculous.
It's right, it really is. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to remember that we all as individuals walk around seeing the world through our own eyes, that we're the hero, that we're the one that is having this quest, and the marketing that we do for them, we're the side quest. We're not the quest.
Yeah.
And to continue this idea. And we have to keep the idea of who they are and what they've accomplished is better than, I guess the pain point we're talking about is that it's very easy to have a company talk about themselves instead of what they can do for someone else. And that's where we have to guide them. We have to guide them for sure. We don't want to do it for ourselves, and we want to make sure they're doing it. And that's where this helps. Resonating with your customer is what's very important. And a lot of people forget that, especially when they start copying things. They forget they're not resonating with their own audience. So that's also a good point. What's next on there? You've got the rocks.
We've got K, and K is for kingship. Now, in this very gender sensitive environment, you could spell queenship with a KWEEN ship, but essentially it's about becoming the rock star. So it's really the core. I mean, originality and resonance together with the right structures and continuity pretty much culminate in kingship. And so these all work together, but the kingship is about becoming a category of one. So an example of kingship in a category would be, using a big original idea, would be the iPod is the king of the MP3 player category. And when the iPod first came out, the big idea that positioned it as a king wasn't about gigabytes and gigahertz and, even the design. The messaging was 1,000 songs in your pocket. And again, so that speaks to the hero's journey. But because if you're going on a long journey, you want at least 1,000 songs in your pocket. But
that's right. And there's value there too, right?
Yeah, massive value, especially when at the time, there were big mainframe type, I'm saying mainframe as a joke, but they to carry 1,000 songs in your pocket would have been a really big pocket and a really big machine. But
you need several Walkmans, right?
Yeah. So it speaks as well to that, the whole thing of rushing somebody else's stage and trying to be the hero of the story. But kingship is really about differentiating your value, and it's difficult to be original, and it's difficult to stand for something unique in this space where everything has been done before. So to your point earlier, bringing things together, two different industries, two different things together in a new way is really the hard work that needs to be done. Nowadays, you've got to bring three things together to be original, but kingship is really about understanding that the number one in a category gets 80% of the revenue share in that category. So I learned this when I was at the advertising agency, and I had companies like Procter and Gamble were my clients. They make Gillette razor blades and Pampers diapers and Pantene shampoo. And then I had, you know, customers like Mars, and they knew at any point where they were in the category, if they were number 2 or 3, like they lived, ate, slept, breathed that thing. Where are we in the category? And are we moving up or down in the category? And so they understood when they worked with us that they were trying to move places in the category, because if they focused on moving in the category, up in the category, their market share would determine how much revenue they had. And obviously to move up in the category is awareness, it's resonance, it's all of those sort of things. So I went, well, is it possible to create micro categories? We call them niches or niches, but micro categories in which you have established the category and you own that category and you write the rules of that category, rather than trying to come and play in somebody else's space and compete with people who are far more entrenched and know the category better.
Yes, definitely. I like what you're saying about kingship or queenship, and that is you're establishing, wow, hold on a second. Not enough coffee this morning. Establishing yourself as the expert. You know, I am the expert, and it's not just expertise. You want to always be moving up in the category and thinking of it as the category and not a keyword or a certain kind of clicks or whatever you want on that chart. When you think about the category as a whole, that's a great way to picture it. It's a great way to approach it. I like that.
Awesome. I'm glad you approve.
I do. So you may go on. You may finish now.
Well, here's the big crescendo. So the S in the ROCKS framework, or in the ROCKS ideology, is structure. And you can have all of the right things going on, but I mean, if you just think about your favorite rock song, if you took that assembly of sounds and you just rearranged them a little, it just wouldn't be the same magical experience. It wouldn't have the memories, the associations, the emotions, the reverberation in your soul. It just has none of that stuff because it's just out of whack. And so structure is about making sure that in your copy, in your messaging, in your marketing, you are making all the right noises in all the right places, which is where the Rockstar framework comes in. So when we're talking about structure, the Rockstar framework, or, you know, the template that your listeners are going to get access to, is really about running that structure in the sequence of how we make decisions, how we think about, how we move through our decision-making process, how we think about buying or not buying, how we encounter objections, you know, the neuroscience of leaning in and engaging and then going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I didn't come up with this stuff. This is, you know, I was fortunate enough to work in the neuroscience space. I've worked in advertising. I've worked in broad marketing. I've spent a small fortune on copywriting and marketing courses. And so what I did was I just stripped it all down over months and years and went, how do we, instead of, have you watched the movie The Italian Job?
Yes.
So they have these Mini Coopers, and they want to put this gold in the back of the Mini Coopers and ramp down the stairs, but the cars are just too heavy. So they call in this mechanic, and he basically strips out all these parts and he just has them lying all over the floor. And they're like, what the heck is this? And they're going, he says, oh, it's just extras. And it's seat warmers and like weird stuff, like electric coils of this and that, and padding and cushioning and airbags and whatever. And all of that stuff becomes so bulky and weighs us down that the gold of our message that we're trying to communicate is just being weighed down by all of the stuff, and marketing becomes really overwhelming. The gold is actually our value, what we've got to share with the world. And it's just not, it's grinding along on on the tarmac because it can't, this marketing is just too complex and chunky and overwhelming. So I went, how do we strip this down and have an Italian job style Mini Cooper that has only the bare essentials to get you from where you are to where you want to be, with a full trunk of gold in it?
That's right. I want the full trunk of gold. Let's go for that. So going along with what you're saying, I mean, you practice what you're preaching here, because on your website, one of the things I love that you put right on your homepage is, it says, want to know what sucks? Scrolling for 30 pages before you see the price. I hate that. And that might be because I'm in marketing. It's harder when you know how it works. When you know how the sausage is made, as they say here in the US, it's harder to, get past that. But the, you're saying, here's all the places you can click to get all those 30 pages, but here's the basic idea. And then if you want to read it, great. If not, here's the prices. So you're really practicing what you preach right on your homepage at, the Rockstar sales pages. So that's everything right there. If you don't want to go through 30 pages of why somebody wants you to buy their product before they even tell you what they're going to charge you for it, this is a great way to do it. Then you go back and say, well, what else do I want to know? Some people want to know every single little piece and some don't. I love that. So you stripped it down. You stripped it down to the essentials. You gave them the places to go to read more, but you didn't make them scroll through it. So I like that you're, using exactly what you said. So if you want to see a good example of what he's talking about, go right to his homepage. So you talked about the 5 pain points, and how does that relate to, we always have to find those pain points of where they're suffering, where it's not working. How does that relate to the copywriting structure and what you do?
Yeah. So first, resonance, the Rockstar framework, and I'll speak you through it, but obviously your listeners can go and grab a copy from the show notes. But
absolutely,
resonance, we have, you're going to hear so many different versions of this, but we have according to the experts, we have between 3 and 8 seconds to grab attention. And if you've watched a good Facebook video ad, and we've all been hammered with Facebook ads, but if you're on Facebook, but if you watch a good ad, right up front, it goes, hey, if you're this kind of person who's got this kind of problem and you want this kind of result, then watch this video. So straight away, your brain, if you've got a problem in your life, your brain is running these loops going, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for this. And when somebody comes along and goes, hey, if you're this kind of person with this kind of problem, you want to check this out, straight away the brain goes, flag that, I've been looking for that. And so resonance is really, so the R in the Rockstar framework is resonate, relate, which is about connecting to the pain. We always want somebody to empathize with our pain. Maybe they can't understand it, but we want them to at least lean in and try to understand. The desire for everyone is to be seen, heard, and understood.
Yes.
And so resonating with somebody is about going, hey, this is for someone just like you. Relating is going, I totally get where you're at. And then the third R in the reveal process is, here's what I've got for you. Keep reading. And with that little series of hooks, you can hold somebody's attention. You're essentially purchasing their attention to keep reading and to lean in and engage further. The brain goes, this is what I've been looking for. Let me investigate further. And then you're really only buying another 10 seconds of attention. So it's not like you can lie back on your proverbial lalo in the pool and think that you've done the job now. You've got to keep buying the next 10 seconds of attention over and over, which is it's a hard job.
That is very good point. You've got to keep talking to them, keep answering their questions, and keep telling them, I have what you need, and I'm not going to make you wait too long for it. Absolutely. So what's the next point?
Am I just hitting you with acronyms today? Is this how we're going to do it?
Yes, you are. I feel like I'm in the military. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's a good way to remember things.
Yeah, I love it. I love acronyms. I'm a total acronym junkie, which is why they're everywhere in this brand. But okay, so O, is really an extension of that. It's coming alongside, and there are 3 O's within the O part of the Rockstar framework. So the first part is the outlook. It's going, if this is your self-talk, your psychology, then I get you. Okay. So if you feel, so in the template, you'll see it says, as an example, if you feel unworthy and ashamed whenever the church collection plate is going around. So I've put a bunch of examples in each of the sections, and I've tried to keep them diverse and fresh. So, with that example, starting the conversation with that example is probably a little touch and go for a few people. But I've been that guy. I've been having hard months where you came to church without your wallet, and you're sitting there when the collection plate goes around, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a dirty loser. And that's this. And that's the self-talk psychology that is happening at the time. And so the outlook piece just comes alongside and says, I know what's going on in your head right now.
Right.
Should I just keep
You
going?
are also having this problem. You and I have both been there.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's a great point, Liza. Let me just say that the clients I work with are typically coaches and consultants and service providers who have been through their own transformation, and now they are essentially selling that transformation on to a second generation of transformers, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. That does make sense. And it's a very simple way of putting it. I never thought of it that way. When you're doing transactional communication, which isn't about transactions like sales, it's actually about communication. It's a term in communication. You're having a discussion back and forth between 2 people to say, I get you, or here's information I want to express. And having that self-talk idea, okay, I've said this to myself, and I know you're saying this to yourself. That's very relatable. It's a very good way to put that. And if it's not the church collection plate for whoever's listening, it could be when they send the Girl Scout cookie order form around, or when they send the birthday card where everybody's putting money in for a coworker or a friend. We all have had those moments in our life where it's, we can't partake in that. Can I still sign the card? So yeah, I think everybody can understand that moment.
Yeah. And it could be the 10th time that you've tried to hit a financial goal and you've missed your financial goal for the 10th time. It could be the 5th time that you've tried a diet and it hasn't worked for you, and you just go, it's typically that moment of a crossroads is really, it's not so much the moment, it's how you are thinking about the moment. So when something's going on, you're saying, I get it. This is what you're thinking in this moment.
Yes, exactly. And then you can help them reframe that.
Yeah,
Here is a solution.
Which takes a while, because we still got to express that we understand their pain and where they're at and what's holding them back before we start running ahead and going, it's going to be okay. Like a dentist tends to, and there's a lot of controversy and a lot of contention around this thing of dialing up the pain. And I just while it pops up, I just want to speak to that very quickly. From a brain perspective, the brain is constantly trying to preserve energy. If we are selling aspiration only and going, here's what your glorious future looks like, and we don't sell the pain of staying where we are now, our lizard brain, our oh man, I just blanked on the terminology, so I'll just call it the lizard brain.
You can do that.
The subconscious primal brain is going, that sounds really nice, but it is risky for me to spend energy chasing dreams. I'm just going to stay here and protect and preserve myself. So we have to tell the brain, staying here, and I'll dig into this in a moment, staying here is not safe. If we stay in this place, bad things are going to happen. So we need to, in our marketing, hold the tension between aspiration and, to use another big word, declination. So we're going to decline if we stay here. You know, objects in motion stay in motion. Sit and seize, you know, it's those two contrasts. So I've actually jumped ahead because that is part of the framework, but I know there's a lot of talk right now about this pain and not speaking to the pain, and you don't have to twist the knife. And yes, you shouldn't twist the knife and make people feel like a schmuck, but
Right.
you can say, I totally understand that right now you feel like a schmuck, and you not standing up and picking yourself up and moving on with me in this journey, first through the sales page and then through some sort of partnership or investment or co-journeying, it's not going to get better for you here.
That's very important, telling them, don't just sit still. Objects at rest stay at rest, to finish that theory. And you don't want to rest and hope that things just continue the way they are, because they won't. People will get bored. People will move on to the next new bright, shiny thing. I think, is it the id, the lizard brain? Is that what it's called? The id? Can't remember. Psychology was a long time ago.
Yeah. So the amygdala is the little walnut-sized emotional center of the brain that is typically responding first to all of these. That's our fight, flight, or freeze center.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. We don't want to freeze. We certainly don't want to fight, and we don't want to fight. I mean, you know, we want to fight appropriately, and that's where you give them the tools to do it. So, where do we go from here with the copywriting this? So we've identified the pain. We've told them we relate to the pain, and they can relate to us. We got it. We understand it. We've already overcome it. So, how do you go from there?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to move quickly, just because I could get lost in this, and we
could have you come on again and talk more about it. We could have a part 2. You can talk all you want.
So O is, just to summarize, it's talking to so we've done the outlook part. We talk to the obstacles, and obstacles is external obstacles and internal pains, because it's what's stopping us and how we think about what's stopping us. You know, the difference between seeing problems and seeing opportunities. The next part of O is to talk about the outcome. So what is going on right now is showing up as these results in your life. And, you know, that could be simple. It could just be in terms of a lawnmower that is, you know, cutting the grass too short, that maybe the mechanism drops and it drops into the sand and it makes a mess, and now you've got these divots all through your lawn. You know, that could be an outcome. Or it could be that you're on your final written warning at work, and, you know, this thing needs to change. So, or your spouse or your romantic partner has given you your final written warning, you know, with
getting an ultimatum.
Maybe with the key in the door of your car, they wrote a love letter of
there's a country song about that. Yeah.
It was about me. No,
oh my.
No, I'm kidding. So, and then that's when we shift now and we go, but here's the opportunity. I want to tell you. So, you know, that whole thing about when you're giving a speech, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them. So the opportunity part is really the setting up and tell them what you're going to tell them, but you saying, here's the big benefit that I'm going to present to you. And it's this amazing outcome without this undesirable experience or these inputs that you're reluctant to commit to this process because of.
That makes sense. So what do we do next?
Then we compound the cost with C, and then
compound. Let me stop that again, because I talked over you. So C is compound the cost. Okay.
Compound the cost. So the example that I've got in the template is, the longer you leave your eczema untreated, the more it spreads. So, I mean, it's a silly example, but anybody who's had eczema goes, yeah, I've had that.
Yes.
So really just painting a picture of, if you stick your head in the sand and pretend that this is going to be okay, if you just give it time to blow over, it's going to blow your house over. That's how it's going to blow over. So that is the C of compounding the cost. And again, it can be respectful, it can be empathetic, it can be in line with the tones and the textures of your brand, but it does need to say, please stand up and let's get moving. We cannot stay here. The ground beneath us is unstable and we need to move to safer ground.
Okay.
And then K in the Rockstar framework is for knowledge. And this is really where you position yourself. Russell Brunson talks about the new opportunity, and it's really what influenced this part of the framework. I should have actually given credit to everybody, but I would have been here for days. But, you know, often we are selling improvement offers. You know, to quote Russell Brunson in Expert Secrets, we're selling improvement offers. We're going, there's this joke. It's a Ben Stiller movie. He's driving along. He picks up this hitchhiker and the guy's like, hey, do you want to invest in my business venture? And he's like, what's it about? And he goes, have you seen that movie for the 8-minute abs? And he's like, yeah. I've seen the movie for 8-minute abs with the guy and the thing. And he's like, yeah. Well, picture this, 7-minute abs. so that's how so much of our marketing is. It's like, oh, dude, are you tired of working out for 8 minutes to get abs? Well, here's 7-minute abs. And then, you know, it becomes unrealistic. So in that little snippet of the movie, Ben Stiller says to this guy who actually turned out to be a bit of a serial killer, says, well, why not just have 5-minute abs? You know, like, why not just cut it right down? And the guy's like, don't be crazy. Nobody can make abs in 5 minutes.
Right,
but at some point
exactly.
it becomes unbelievable. And it's like, oh, I've heard this before.
Yes.
Somebody's going to come out with the next thing. And if you come out with
It's the better
7-minute
mousetrap, right? It's the better mousetrap idea.
Yeah. And it's just a matter of days until somebody goes, I can make a better mousetrap.
Right. Yes. And if there were 7-minute abs people, I'd have them. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I don't have them. So it doesn't exist, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
we've got to. So the K is kicking the status quo in the shins. It is saying part of the problem that you're experiencing in your life within this category of pain is that people either don't know something or they haven't told you. You know, they haven't told you, and it's either because they don't know or they're keeping it from you. Right. And here's the key insight. So when Russell Brunson talks about this, he talks about, in the weight loss space, he talks about ketones and how drinking ketones puts you in a state of ketosis. Now, anybody who's been on the journey of weight loss for a long time might not have heard of ketones by the time that gets put in front of them, and they go, oh my gosh, that changes everything. If I have to work out less because of this thing that puts my body in a state of accelerated weight loss, well, that's so much better than what I've been doing before. And so it repositions the entire category and says, you don't have to go through what you've been through because you now know something that these other people are trying to sell you stuff that they don't know. Now,
absolutely.
let me just, I just want to say on that point very quickly that it puts the responsibility on us as business owners and marketers to actually come up with something original and not just sell what everybody else. So with the privilege of presenting these things differently comes the responsibility of actually bringing new value to the market, which kind of closes the loop on my journey of going, you've got value and you've got marketing, and you try to market, but you don't bring the value. And then you try to create value, but you don't market. So that's really the the culmination of the two in that K of the acronym.
I got it. That makes sense. Yeah, yeah. And looking at some of your examples, limiting your workday to 3 hours per day makes you 5 times more productive. I'd like to know where that is. Can you find that for me? But yeah, but that's exactly, the insight that you're looking for is there is a way to do this and you just don't know what it is. And I have seen lots of ads that say there's a secret, but they're keeping it from you for clickbait. And we want to know what the secrets are. And we want to know what that insight is. So if you can give them the insight, you're telling them you have the answer. And I like that.
Yeah.
You can't just say I have the answer. You actually have to tell them what the insight is, right?
Yeah. Well, Liza, let me just give you the piece of knowledge, just as an example, around limiting your workday to 3 hours per day would make you 5 times more productive. So our prefrontal cortex, our logical brain, is just a thin little layer. It's like a little bit thicker than a credit card, over the front part of our brain, only has at most 4 hours of problem solving energy. So when we are sitting for 5, 6, 7 hours doing problem solving or creative work, our brain is already checked out. We are just now, we might think we're being productive and creative, but we are really, all we're doing is we're going into a serious mental calorie deficit. And so you might go, I work, and look, I'm guilty. I work 12-hour, 13-hour days sometimes, but the brain science doesn't lie. And I've stopped being my most creative self in that 5th hour. So what it would mean for us is that we need to put our creative work at the front end of the day and leave the menial, automatic, subconscious tasks to the second half of the day. That's just some extra value for your people.
I love that. Yeah, that makes sense because you get that decision fatigue, you burn up those calories, and I've never thought about the 4 hours of creativity. That makes a lot of sense, which is why you shouldn't just stack a bunch of meetings unless they're the meetings you want to be creative for first thing in the day, right?
Yeah. So the S in the framework is about, and again, this is communicating so as the marketer or as the business owner, coach, consultant, I'm now talking about the transformation that I went through, why this matters to me. So it is significance, struggle, and solution. So essentially it's why this matters to me and why I'm passionate about solving this problem for people like you. How I struggled, there's the resonance and the relatability part, how I struggled with this very thing. And just a really important part there, an important component of that, is to use the language of your customer and the voice of your customer, even if it's your own journey, because insights, ideas, and language are like children. You always love your own more than you love anybody else's. So a big mistake I used to make in communicating is somebody would say something and then I would try and be clever and I'd make up a metaphor that sounded cool and clever and say, oh, so it's kind of like this. And they go, yeah, I guess you could say that, but maybe. In other words, no, that's not how I see it. And you now trying to reshape it and reform it in your brain just makes me feel that we don't get each other.
And you're supposed to say back what someone said to you so they know you're listening and you're hearing
Exactly.
it. But if you try to reframe it in your own words, you're saying that's not going to accomplish it. You've got to say it back to in their own words, not word for word, but they see it.
Yeah,
okay.
there's key piece. So it's why research. You can't just whip out an amazing marketing piece without doing the research and going into understand how your customer speaks, thinks, and acts around their problem and what actions they've taken and probably failed in moving towards their desired outcomes. And all of that has words and thoughts and imagery associated to it, where if you just ask them with open-ended questions, they would tell you, I felt like this, and I felt like this, and I felt like this. So the S is why this matters, how you've personally struggled, and then the solution that you came up with and how you came up with that solution, an origin story to the offering. And again, when you come up with the origin story to the offering, you are really framing it up in the client's language, in the reader, your target audience's language, rather than in your own cool expressions that you like and that ring your bell.
Right. And, you know, and a lot of this can be done with intuition by business owners because they know what they're selling and they know who they're selling to, we would hope, if they're at that point.
Yeah.
And, but there's so much organizational psychology behind this, and there's so much consumer psychology behind this. And a lot of us just know by gut, but the more you know about some of that, just knowing that, I mean, maybe we don't all need to know the thickness of that part of the brain, though I find that fascinating. We don't need to know that, but we need to remember how much time it has and how many things people are doing during the day. And then you're interrupting them with this and wanting some of those calories in their creative part of their day. So if you're going to ask them for some of those calories, you better be giving them a good answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said.
Thank you. Well, see, I was trying to say it back to you without putting my own words on it. Yes.
You did an amazing job. So the transformation part, obviously testimonials are an important part of credibility and but the way we do testimonials, so we're on the T in the Rockstar framework as we sort of head towards the home straight here, and the transformation that we're describing, testimonials are so powerful, and yet people use them so badly that they're basically ineffective. And when testimonials are done well, you could just put testimonials there and a price, and it would sell the product. Because it's really an encapsulation of the entire journey. So here's a 4-question framework that I use, and it's not in the template. So if anyone's listening, they need to either pause this or run really quickly and grab a pen and paper. But these are the 4 questions. What did your life look like, or what was going on in your life that caused you to look for a solution to this problem? That'll allow you to talk about their current reality and what's going on in their world. People reading that will go, oh my gosh, yes, oh man, that's just like me. That's my problem. Keep reading. The next one is, what made you, of all the other options out there, what made you choose this particular option? Now, that's a very powerful question that has got so much valuable marketing data that we fail to ask our clients most often. Simon Sinek says, start with why. We very often forget to go, why did you choose this? What made you choose this? And so that's the second question. And then, when you were using the product or the service, or you were experiencing the program after you'd invested, what was your experience like? What were some of the standouts? Now, that's a very important question because over time, it tells you what the most valuable things are. If you were to strip some things away from your program or from your offer or from your product, what should remain is the things that people most often talk about. And you did say earlier, Liza, that we can, intuitively, we know what people are buying, but a lot of the time, where we stand determines what we see, and we fall in love with certain features and benefits of our offering that often are out of alignment with the core value that our client is looking for. And so this question of what is the thing why did you choose this solution, will give you some insight into what is making you stand out and where your differentiation is in the market.
Yes. And if they just say it's because you're the lowest price, you probably want to look at your offer because you might be able to charge more and show more value for that. So that's really good information to have.
And then the final question, just in that testimonial framework, and you can literally send it as 4 questions to your client, and then just mash it up yourself when you get the feedback. But the 4th one is, what does your life look like in that particular area now that you're on the other side? So you've come out of this place, you've used the product and service, you're on the highway to wherever, and through your next problem, onto your next destination. What does life look like for you now? And sometimes I've had clients get feedback where they say, well, it kind of looks the same. I'm back in the same place that I was. And then that's an opportunity for continuity where you can upsell or cross-sell and go, why do you think it failed? What is the supplement that we need in terms of value to ensure that you don't fail again? So there's a lot of, it's not just about, oh, I got a happy client, they bought, you should buy too. It's about mining the data from their experience and communicating that to other people just like them, but also going, what is standing out here? What is making people buy? What is not making people buy? Where's the experience falling down for them? I always throw in an extra 5th question, which is, what would you do to make it better? And I obviously don't publish that in the testimonials, but it's valuable data.
Yes, it is. Because they may not tell you. They may be thinking it. That doesn't mean they'll tell you.
Yeah. When last did you phone somebody up after you bought something and said, hey, just want to let you know, and how you can, I had a good experience. Just want to let you know how you could possibly improve this experience for people like me.
Right. Most of us don't want to be that guy. So
yeah.
There's a way to do it, though. There's definitely a way to do it. And I think asking that is important. Very, very important.
Yeah.
So going back to this other acronym.
So A in the Rockstar framework is announcing your offer. Appraising, which is really a fancy word for outlining the value and rationally working through the value stack. And when I say value stack, I'm not talking that sleazy, this is worth $200, this is worth $500, none of that sort of stack it up stuff. I'm just going in terms of the value bundle that you're offering. You need to clearly describe with features, benefits, and meanings what this means for their life and their journey from pain to gain for them personally. And then A, the final A, in the Rockstar acronym A, is appeal. So calling people to action and going, all right, this is where you need to take action. And amazingly, when I'm doing copy coaching and I'm looking at people's proposals or their sales letters, I'm flabbergasted at how often people just forget to tell people to buy or just to take action and go, right, if this is for you and it sounds good, take action now and buy. Because people are like still caught up in this almost paralysis of analysis where they're just evaluating and they're going, oh yeah, okay, yeah, yes, got it. That they actually forget to go, oh yes, this solves my problem, and I need to actually take out my card now and make a purchase. So,
and here's the button and the link to do that. Give them a link to take their money. They want to give you money. Take their money. I don't know how many times I've had to tell people. Oh, Duke Skywalker has been commenting on the editorials here, and he just walked in to join us. Okay, so if you're hearing him in the background, that's who that is. So we have the appraisal. I like that you call it the appraisal. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the final letter, the grand crescendo in the Rockstar, the Rockstar Cannon Blasts is really the Rock Show Cannon Blasts is reduce the risk, which is the R, and it is reassuring people that the outcome that they're looking to be addressed will be addressed by this investment. And then you've got to offset their anxiety and give them some confidence that if they aren't able to rise up to the task themselves, that you've got fail-safe mechanisms and design in this thing that's going to catch them when they fall, but also there are some safety mechanisms, whether that be a cashback or it be extra attention or it be extended warranties or whatever that might be. We've got to reduce the risk, because at the end of the day, and at the end of the sales page, they're going, is the risk of me investing greater than the risk of me not investing? And that's ultimately the final decision process that's happening in the transaction, whether it's a microsecond transaction or it's a couple days long process. They're going, do I have more to gain or more to lose, more to risk by making this investment? And that's it. That is the Rockstar structure for writing compelling sales letters that capture attention, command value, and cause a cascade of cash in your business.
That's right. We want the cascade of cash. I like that. Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's very important to have a structure. This is excellent for email templates and any letter you're sending out. This is a wonderful template. I think everyone should just go ahead and download this. And I'm going to have you talk about your links in a moment. And well, of course, they'll, as you mentioned, will be in the show notes. And we can put those testimonial questions in our show notes too, so that they'll have them in case they were driving. And, you know, we don't want you trying to write stuff down when you're driving, guys. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, let's share those there too, because that's valuable information. When you ask for testimonials, you have to know what you're asking, or they're just not going to get back to you. And those are important. So the other thing you talked about, the value stack, one of the things that I just don't understand is when people say, oh, this course is, this is a $750,000 million billion course that you're going to get for $97. And where are you getting those numbers from? Don't lie. Don't lie.
Yeah.
If you weren't going to sell that separately, you know, that's like the MSRP. This is really $100, but we're going to sell it to you on this price tag for $50, but it's never been $100. It's just the value somebody arbitrarily put on it. Don't be arbitrary. Show people real values. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Beautiful.
So,
I love that.
Yes, it's true, because people are not dumb. You know, they know you're just inflating it to show that you have value. Instead of just putting a big number on it, show them you have value. Tell them what you're going to give them. And a template like this would definitely help. Copywriting isn't easy. Copywriting is hard. It's a lot to do over and over again. And if you have a structure that you can fill in the originality part, that's going to take a lot of those decision-making calories off your plate for yourself too, right? So this is a great thing. So tell us where people can get in touch with you and find your template, find your website if they want to talk more about this.
So you can email me at simon@marketingthat.rocks. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. The Rockstar Sales Pages is the page that I'm going to send everybody to, rockstarsalespages.com, and they can see an example of what you said about, you know, skipping straight down to the price. We're always experimenting and innovating. You know, sales pages and proposals are our thing. I want to just say one thing very quick, and I know we should just wrap this up, but in terms of value and price, our business prides itself on providing clients with 10 times the return on investment. So if you spend $1 with us, you should get $10 back. I impose that value on my clients. So if you come to me and you can't justify, if you can squeeze $31.50 of value out of a $31 offer, I'm going to say to you, look, you need to go and rethink this and come back, because this is not sustainable. You're not going to go the distance. You're not going to build an amazing business. Our business is to help aspiring rock stars rise to the top of the category or become their own category rock star. And you're not going to do that by nickeling and diming people and, doing just enough. And we need, as marketers and business owners, to shift away from this thing of high ticket. How much can I charge for this thing? And start thinking, how much value can I deliver? Because if I can deliver value that is multiplied to my customer, I'm going to keep getting more customers. That's the best marketing in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can 100% support that. So, all right. This has been great. Thank you so much for coming in and talking about this, going through the acronym for us, and giving this template to the listeners so they can try this out for themselves and see how well it works and see how easy it can be once they think this way. And it can become second nature, but you'll always have a little outline there to refer to. So again, less decision-making calories on a Monday morning when you've got a coffee is always good. And then they can talk to you about, doing even more with them.
Yeah. Liza, this was amazing. Thank you for allowing me to hit you with the alphabet all day. I mean, but I really appreciate this. It was good to connect.
I agree. Thank you. I'm glad you could too.
Wow, another fantastic conversation done. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget that all the links mentioned will be in the show notes at lizacivicmarketing.com. And while you're there, if you're a business owner whose marketing is on life support, check out the Your Virtual Marketing Department offer and take the Marketing Health Report quiz for free. For less than the cost of a full-time hire, we can take your marketing from frustrating to lead generating with an entire marketing team. So check that out, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Marketing Myths and Magic, part of the Xvadio Podcast Network. You can find us at xvadio.com/podcasts, as well as the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts.